Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, JJ Redick called Thursday's 113-110 win over Sacramento. Perhaps his favorite of the season. We'll tell you why next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter how or where you get your podcasts, this one's always free, never, ever, ever, ever behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube, Andy, is where over 26,000 subscribers watched Anthony Davis put on a show Thursday night in Sacramento. One of the many reasons, I would say, that JJ Redick, coach of the Lakers, called the 113-110 win over Sacramento, the first of this sort of weird two-game series in Sacramento. Why he called it?
It was a three-game series because next week the Lakers play the Kings again in LA.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the Saturday game is at 3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is the strangest Saturday starting time in the NBA, but yet here we are. Lakers off to a really good start in this little mini series that they're playing. Anthony Davis was a huge part of this win. Again, JJ Redick calls it probably his favorite of the year. Want to let everybody know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with a $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I think there were many reasons when you go through balanced defensive effort, a little bit of grit and intensity that really Redick was referencing when he called it his favorite win of the year. But I think it starts and it started for JJ, I think, too, in his post game. It started with Anthony Davis.
He mentioned how it speaks to what Anthony Davis can do, not just as a complete player, but especially defensively, when he can have a night where he goes 7 of 20 from the field and still makes this just incredible impact. 21 points, again, inefficient night from the field, but got to the line 9 times, made 7 of those attempts, 20 rebounds, 8 on the offensive glass, 6 blocks and countless shots altered, 3 steals, 4 assists, and, you know,
and a partridge in a pear tree. I mean, it's a long list of stuff.
What I was going to say is, you know, obviously the mano-a-mano with him and Domantas Sabonis is always something that is going to get monitored because of AD's bad history in this particular matchup. And it even, you know, it dates back to when Sabonis was still with the Pacers for the brief time there was that overlap while AD was with the Lakers. And Sabonis has the cleaner line, 18 points on 8 of 12 shooting, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. I mean, 2 blocks. It certainly was not a bad game by any stretch for Sabonis, but the impact between these two guys was not even close. Like Anthony Davis's overall impact and presence in this game was better than Sabonis's. It just was.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And you know, we have made a point on this show, and you, I think, have really leaned into this on the show, that, you know, the Lakers take a lot of their cues from LeBron. You know, when LeBron is able to play with commitment and energy on the defensive side of the ball, the Lakers,
which he did tonight.
He did, no question. The Lakers, you know, that it shows, it bleeds through to the rest of the team. And I think that was true on Thursday. And we can talk about, you know, what that looked like offensively and some of the balance that the Lakers got that makes this possible. But Anthony Davis is the tone setter on both sides of the ball. And, like, you know, when LeBron can do X, Y, and Z, it elevates the team, it sends a message. But fundamentally, what they do defensively starts with AD. And the first, I don't know, 8 minutes, his first shift, if you want to call it that, in this game on Thursday was so good, in not just in the statistical production, but in that tone setting way. He was from the get-go aggressive, he was mobile, he was disruptive, and you could just tell like the Lakers were going to be able to play this game knowing they had, okay, we got that guy. And the energy that they played with, particularly again early, which was when really the only time of the game that they were good on both sides as opposed to just defensively, that sprung from AD. It was incredibly impressive to me.
To your point, in the first quarter, Anthony Davis, 9.5 minutes, 6 points, 7 rebounds, 2 on the offensive glass, 2 steals, 2 blocks. People have asked me before about, with LeBron, like why do the other players take their cues from a 40-year-old? Like, that's not reasonable. They shouldn't require, like, this is not a specific current Lakers and LeBron thing. This is something that happens in multitudes of ways with all teams and all superstars. Like Brian and I covered the last 10 years of Kobe's career, and we were around that team like on a daily boots on the ground basis. Those players took their cues from Kobe in a lot of different ways. I mean, that's just normal for all teams. Like, they took the best parts of Kobe as far as their cues. They took the worst part of Kobe's as far as their cues. And I guarantee if you went around the league and talked to friends or just listened to like different channels, Locked On Network, talking about those teams they cover and their superstars, it's the same thing. It's interesting though, like as far as with AD and LeBron, as far as, like I'm trying to place this the way I want to, like, because you said something I thought was interesting, the idea of AD setting a tone and LeBron guys taking their cues. And I think sometimes with LeBron, when he doesn't put in that activity and like just sort of that engagement level defensively, it gives a permission structure for the other guys to follow suit. Whereas with AD, the tone is just the like, okay, this is the game we're going to be playing. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
this is where we are tonight. Okay,
right. It's like setting a thematic foundation for what they're going to be doing. Like, it's the way the story opens. That might be the best way I would distinguish.
Yeah,
and both these guys are responsible. Both these guys are responsible for it. It's not just LeBron; it's AD as well.
It's a better framing than sort of what I was just kind of thinking of in terms of, AD is just as your best player, but it does it kind of breaks that down, I think, on a finer point. And we'll get into this. They play on Saturday again, and you re-enter a more normal NBA cadence. I was thinking watching this game, it's like if the NBA ever decided to scrap the regular season and have kind of an Olympic style tournament with like a tournament with an Olympic schedule, the Lakers would in fact be a team to watch in that format, because this is like the third or fourth game in a row now where their defensive energy, not always the results, but the defensive energy.
Results were pretty good tonight, though.
The results were very good, and the results were good against Memphis. I'm just saying, like on every play, like
sure.
This is the NBA. You hold a team to 100 points, you're doing something right.
Sacramento entered this game averaging almost 117 points a game.
Yeah, I mean you're doing good things here. And how they got there, we'll talk about this, as the show goes on. How they got there was really important. And one of the things when Redick talks about this as his favorite win of the year, it's the stuff that they did on that side of the ball, or to control the pace even while they were missing shots that he's referencing. But the real key to seeing whether or not this change, I will call it, from what they were doing defensively in the worst of their losing streak is permanent. Like, we will find out over the next 2 weeks when they do play every other day if this is, maybe they really have turned a corner and discovered something. One of the things that will help that, I think, is balance, which is something that they got plenty of Thursday. Get into that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. PrizePicks is the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just pick more or less on at least two players, at least two, for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Join now because this holiday season, PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they are giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas. That's a play on words for Christmas if you couldn't figure it out. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with PrizePicks, the best way to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Again, you can win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's code LOCKEDONNBA on PrizePicks. You get 50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even have to win to get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game.
Locked on Lakers also brought to you by Rocket RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control in the bedroom, Rocket RX has the solution. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. Rocket RX offers FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at a lower cost than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor visits or pharmacy trips. Everything delivered straight to your door in discreet, plain packaging. With Rocket RX, you get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team. Complete a quick 100% online consultation, and you can get your prescription today. Visit rocketrx.com to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes. And right now, our listeners can get 40% off first order when you use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's rocketrx.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first order. Terms and conditions apply. Rocket RX, better sex made simple. One of the things we have both wondered and maybe even hoped was that the Lakers would be able to get this sort of 15% more, so to speak, 20% more out of LeBron defensively. Just let that little extra bit of engagement where he's on the level that you need him to be is if he doesn't have to do as much offensively. Now,
that's been my working theory.
Yeah, LeBron. It's a tough thing to do because the team has not been good. I mean, for all the talk of the defense, falling into cratering over this, that stretch when they were at their worst, the offense wasn't much better, and so it is harder to lean less on LeBron when you're not scoring points. And look, and Thursday, the offense was not good. After that first quarter where the Lakers scored 37 points, they went 25, 24, 27. And despite an excellent first quarter, only shot 40% from the floor. They were carried by, and this is, go to that theme of what Redick liked about this. They did shoot the ball well, 36.5%, I should say, from three. They made their free throws, 25 of 30, and they only turned the ball over 11 times. You can miss some shots if you're doing all those other things. But they got the 21 from AD. LeBron put in 19, 6 and 7, had a block shot, was plus 13 on the night. It was a good night for LeBron. But you got 25 from Austin Reeves. You got 16 from D'Angelo Russell off the bench. You got 12 from Gabe Vincent, including 4 of 5 from 3.
Gabe has been, by the way, over the last couple weeks, starting to look more like the guy that they thought they were getting when they signed him last offseason.
Yeah, no question.
He's been looking much better.
He looks like a guy who's going to actually help you in your rotation rather than being somebody you just sort of cross your fingers. And again, it's it's similar to Max Christie, who was in the starting lineup, was a plus 17, made De'Aaron Fox work for his 26 points, 7 of 17 from the floor. Fox did most of his damage, really at the free throw line. But Christie,
and also later in the game, because Christie's defense in part helped get Fox into really early foul trouble.
Mm-hmm. So, it was another good night for Max, kind of acquitting himself as a member of the starting lineup. I think we talked about this over the course of the week. I expect him to stay there. It makes a lot of sense. But he gave them 8 points, got to the line 6 times, 4 rebounds, including a big 3 offensive rebounds, to keep possessions alive, and a pair of steals. So, when this sort of thing happens, Andy, you don't need 38 from LeBron. Not every night. He'll give it to you sometimes, but 19, 22, 23, 20 shots, 22 shots. You're not going to need 28 shots, 30 shots from LeBron to score enough points. This is a formula for them with this kind of balanced attack and real scoring production, particularly from Reeves, that can get them some places, I think.
Well, part of the catch-22 when you were talking about the offense struggling and that making it more difficult to lean less on LeBron because you're trying to get that offense charged, I understand what you're talking about theoretically, but ironically, during that period, it was also when LeBron was doing more. So
yes.
It's not like
and the results were terrible on both sides of the ball.
Right. It's not like past seasons where LeBron was doing everything because he was the only guy playing well offensively and therefore you had no other choice. I think there's been a direct correlation. Not every single game. There have been games where they've needed LeBron to go supernova, and he is still in pockets of games and occasionally full games able to play at that level. But I think at this stage of his career, less is often going to be more. And I don't mean like he's going to fade into the background like your 6th or 7th option, but there is an element of, if not less is more, less end can be more. LeBron is not going to be able to maintain the pace of playing at that type of high usage level for the entirety of this season.
That's the big thing, right?
He's not going to be able to do it. I think it's become very clear by now. After we're starting to be on is LeBron tired watch at game 12. It's clearly not a sustainable thing.
You are empowering him and the team to be able to go to that well when it's required, when it's needed, and look, start to get into the spring. Lakers are battling for playoff position. You get into the playoffs, knock on wood, and you're in a 7-game series and so. Okay, yeah, that's when you want to use it. That's when you want to hit the turbo button and all that kind of stuff. If the Lakers have to lean on that, if the Lakers have to be a team that is carried by LeBron, in tandem with AD, but where the two of them are really just carrying the team, it won't be there in the spring when it's most needed and when the stakes are highest and the games are at the highest leverage. 25 from Austin. You need 25 from Austin Reeves on December 19th to enable LeBron to give you 35 on April 26th. Mm-hmm. That's what this formula essentially is going to be for the Lakers. That is why it is it was so problematic for Vincent to be somebody who did not shoot the ball when he played, did not score at all. Is he going to hit 4 of 5 from 3? Not every time, although if he gets these nice corner threes, he's going to hit more than he misses. It's why D'Angelo Russell, even when he's point guarding well, still needs to provide them points. He's got to score. Like, you got to do the thing that you're known for in addition to the other stuff as well. Those 16 points make it easier. You get 8 points from Christie as a starter instead of 4 points, which is what Reddish was averaging as a starter. That 4-point difference when you start to have these little wins, so to speak, across the thing. And, AD's most nights going to give you more than 21. That's what they get, because Dalton Knecht had 2 points and, only played 10 minutes. So, everybody who plays, if you're going to be one of the 8 or 9 guys who plays 15 minutes or more, Reddish only played 11. You gotta give him something.
When Cam doesn't score, it needs to come from someone else. But Cam's first responsibility is it's kind of like the inverse of what you were saying before with like D'Lo. You have to do the thing that you're first being asked to do, then you branch out to the other stuff. Cam's the inverse of that. The first thing you're asking him to do is be disruptive.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with how he played.
Sure, but I'm just saying, like, it becomes easier for someone to offset it with Cam, or more expected,
yes,
or more expected with Cam to offset it. You're not supposed to be offsetting a lack of scoring from Dalton Knecht, who, by the way, I've been keeping up with home and road 3-point splits.
Good.
It is. Last I checked heading into this game, 46% at home, roughly 29% on the road, and that's going to go down after this game.
Yeah, I think he's missed his last 12 threes. He's just he's in a spot. Like, I think we collectively got a little excited about like how much he would maybe impact the rotation going forward, and hope that was a little more sustainable than it has proved to be. But if he's only going to be scoring 2 points and he's one of your sort of main offensive weapons, like, Redick's not screwing around. Like, he's not going to play a lot. Nope. A 10 to 15 minute role, give or take, for Cam Reddish, where he can just go out and really be aggressive defensively. That's a perfect role for him. And you're right. You can support it if D'Lo scoring, if you're getting something from Vincent, if you're getting something from a little bit of something from Christie, if you're getting, it was an inefficient night for Rui.
But he played well.
If he did. And if he's 5 of 9 instead of 3 of 9, you're looking at 14, 15 points instead of 10. Like, it was a really inefficient night offensively for the Lakers as a team, and they still managed to win by 13. There was just a lot to like in this win, and it starts on the defensive side of the ball. So, Andy, my question to you is, do you think they've actually landed on something sustainable? That is the question we will ask next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. Tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5. Just $5. You get 150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all one place. And this is really important. They can help you with the process. Like, let's say in the middle of the game, you're getting a hunch about how things are going to turn out. It's felt like you've been anticipating every single big touchdown pass or a game-changing turnover before it happens, but you just want to confirm those hunches. Check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bet. It's all streamlined right there for you. Visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you get started again with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Pick something simple. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
And the Lakers are needed to be a win. What was there? Well, there was a high water mark. Was it 10-4? I believe, from a record standpoint. Now they're 15-11, which, God, there's something about being like 3 or 4 games over 500, even if it's like one. Like, it just looks nicer when you write it down.
They're 15-12.
15-12. Well, like
everything you said now, just complete garbage.
Well, it does, but like aesthetically in my head, it doesn't look as good, 15. But there is something like you when you get, they'll have a chance to do it on Saturday. Like, can you get to 16-12? Like, where you don't feel like a 500 team, Like I don't know how many games above 500 you got to get before you are a 500 team. Or you're not that anymore. But 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, it feels like that. And you're in a different space in the NBA. By the way, sign up for the newsletter. It's down there. You can see it. And
Bottom right corner.
Yeah,
Bottom
Locked
right
on Daily. Right. LockedOnDaily.com. You become a subscriber to the Locked On Lakers newsletter, and any other newsletter you want across the network have the show delivered to you every single day. You feel more legitimate when people just, you're just a 500 team. I think if they can get back there, it'll be big. But even when they were winning games, when they were at 10-4, a long way from a 500 team, the defense was still not good. They had some of the most absurd offensive and defensive splits for a successful team, and it felt unsustainable. It turned out, Andy, it was. They needed to become at least a decent offensive team to have a chance. Last four games, they have been better than a decent offensive team.
Defensive team.
That's right. Yes. So I think they can keep this up.
Well, first of all, they are playing much more like they give a crap about how good of a defensive team they are, and that's the starting point. I mean,
you could almost take team out of it and just they're a defensive team and just be like they're a better team, that they give a crap about how good a team they are.
Right, but really, there was a period where it felt like they at least cared about how good of an offensive team they were. It was just like, how good do we actually want to be defensively? Because I mean, as much as defense is schemes and communication and the approach, all that stuff, and personnel matters, yada yada. There's a baseline level of effort and dedication that has to be there, unless you have guys that are just so naturally gifted at this. Like you have to be willing to put in that work. And for a while, it frankly felt like they were not collectively as a team. And you could really see how that was wearing on AD, and that AD was getting pretty outwardly sick of it. So I think there's the rededication to it, whether that's been kind of coming to Jesus, whether that's been, Redick recently talking about how he essentially told guys in so many words, look, either do the bleep I'm asking or you're not going to play, or your minutes are going to get cut. Like, I'm kind of done screwing around. I also think, too, schematically, they're doing some things different. They are automatically switching far less than they used to.
They did, yeah. We talked about this in the preview with Matt George. Like, what would they do against a pick and roll heavy team in the Kings? Because one of the reasons they look so good against Memphis, and Christie looked so good against John Morant, they didn't have to do that stuff, but they didn't switch off every screen in this game.
No, and even some of the times where they were switching in whether because they were forced to by design, a little bit of both or whatever, and it wasn't working as well, like some of the times where, say, Rui and AD switched assignments and Rui ended up on Sabonis. Sabonis could get the better of Rui in a lot of those, but at least it's not ridiculous, the idea of Rui switched onto Sabonis, as opposed to, say, earlier in the season when it would have been like D'Lo switched onto Sabonis. Well, and nobody recovering back, too. Like,
that's
nobody ever recovering back. They've been using, over the last few games, AD and Koloko as well, much more in drop as opposed to kind of switching everything. And those two, I think, are more effective playing that way. Like, it's been a better use of those guys as a backline. I think they're, again, switching less, and I think they're fighting more defensively. Like, they're literally using more physicality. They are making their presence felt more defensively, which was, the everydayers will recall me just bitching about this show after show after show. But I'm like, I don't even feel like they're even putting in the physical effort necessary, not being felt enough. Even if they're doing a switching, if you want to switch everything, you can still do it in a way where you're felt more. They weren't even felt while they were doing it.
Yeah. I look at this and Some of this is, a little shift in personnel. Not that Christie and Reddish are both, sort of have a profile defensively, but they're not exactly. Reddish is a little bit more of a guarding pure wings, and Christie obviously can step up and play smaller players. I mean, you don't stick Cam Reddish on Ja. Like, that's not a natural thing, and giving the Lakers a stronger point of attack defender helps the whole operation. When in such a guard heavy league where almost every night they see De'Aaron Fox again on
Saturday.
I mean, who do they got coming up? I don't have the schedule in front of me. Now pulling it up.
I think Detroit is Monday, but I got to look.
Yeah, I mean, so it's
Detroit.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, but they've got so
and then they go
Theory,
and they go up
on Christmas, and De'Aaron Fox again, and then Donovan Mitchell is coming soon. Donovan Mitchell, Simons in the Portland game, and Trae Young before the end of the month, and it just goes. There aren't a lot of games where you're not going to see really strong guards. LaMelo Ball's coming up soon, and Kyrie, and it's Luka. Just it goes on to have somebody you feel like you can credibly put. I'm not saying Christie is going to shut these players down every night. He's not even going to shut them down most nights. But if you can put a guy on to make that player work, especially if it's a Kyrie Irving or something like that, where they're not just scorers, but they're also part of the hub that makes an offense go. You're making everything harder for that team. And you're also making it so Austin Reeves doesn't have to be that guy. It's going to make him a better scorer. He's not a bad team defender, but you don't want him having to take that responsibility on and then also have the responsibility of trying to check the best backcourt player that the other team has. And so when you have Christie, who can give you that defense and then just a little bit more offense than what Reddish was providing, that's like and ball movement and all that other stuff, like just a better offensive player. The trickle down effect from what we're seeing there over the last couple of games has been noticeable. And my hope is that it sustains itself going forward, and maybe they finally have a lineup that kind of makes some sense.
Off the top of my head, I would have to go back and look at the game to know exactly what changed. But insofar as things that at least seem like they were adjusted on some level, Malik Monk in this game went to town on the Lakers in the second quarter. He had 12 points. Like he was what really got Sacramento back into this game. He had a 12-point quarter where he was handling the ball a lot, no turnovers. He finished the game with 18, meaning they did a very good job limiting him from there. He also had 5 turnovers in the game. So they were doing things to help make that matchup work better from them. So they are likely. They're talking about listening and focusing more on those details and really being more dialed into their assignments and what they're supposed to be doing. But again, I think a lot of this gets back to just they have either decided or accepted, however you want to put it, the defense they were playing before, execution-wise and effort-wise, just wasn't going to cut it.
And too, it's like, the crashing. We heard so much in the beginning of the year about, crashing and, and corner crash and all that. Like, they had 15 offensive rebounds in this game. And that was I mentioned the 3 from Christie. AD had 8. Mm-hmm. And that makes a huge difference.
Gabe Vincent had 2.
Yeah, he's a little guy. That makes a really big difference in terms of what you're able to do, limiting another team's runouts, limiting like they forced Sacramento to hang out around their basket, to stop trying to give up second and third opportunities. Meanwhile, they only allowed 4 offensive rebounds on the entire night. And so that you're turning Sacramento into a one and done team, which means while Sacramento shot 46% from the floor and 38% from 3-point range, better than you did in both of those categories, because they had 81 field goal attempts to your 94, and they only had 22 trips to the line to your 30. You can win very comfortably. 13-point win on the road is a very comfortable win in the NBA. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. If the Lakers, because now, we've gone from they've lost 8 of 11, I think it was, to now they've won 3 of 4, and you can start to turn the page on that part of the schedule and to see like, okay, now they're in a schedule where they're playing better. If they can carry that through on Saturday and then win again, I think you can start to feel much better about where the Lakers are as a group. So we'll see what happens. Again, sign up for the newsletter. Make sure you're checking out the postcast with Dave Pele after games. We will see everyone after the game on Saturday.